The whole world was shocked by the official statement made by BTS's Jin in an internal press conference disseminated by the South Korean media this morning. In the statement, Jin revealed that he could no longer keep quiet watching what HYBE labels had been hiding regarding Jungkook. Moments after the confession, Jungkook reportedly broke down in tears at an unspecified location after hearing that an important fact, which he himself did not know had finally been made public. What exactly is hidden? Why has HYBE been silent all this time? And why did the genie decide to speak now? The fact that Jin revealed, "I can no longer be silent," in his speech released through BTS Communication Channel's official broadcast, Jin firmly stated that as the oldest member in the group, he feels a responsibility to protect the integrity of its members, especially Jungkook. There was something HYBE knew, and even we knew, but never told Jungkook directly. "I can't close my eyes anymore," Jin said. He went on to mention that over the years, Jungkook was the subject of internal manipulations related to public image management, distribution of solo works, to the selection of international projects that had actually been decided without involving Jungkook's full approval. These facts, according to Jin, are kept tidy by the management team in the name of corporate strategy. HYBE considered hiding reality. Internal documents leaked not long after Jin made the public statement. An investigative report emerged from one of the independent media outlets that obtained copies of HYBE's allegedly leaked internal documents. The document mentions a brand structuring agenda that contains each BTS member's specific role in supporting the company's overall long-term projects, including the possibility of choosing who is more favored in global promotions. I end the document. There are indications that HYBE's main projects outside of Korea will involve more members because they are considered easier to control, do not demand high artistic independence, and have a public profile that suits Western target markets. Jungkook was referred to in the report as an unpredictable and risky creative element to the corporate narrative framework. Jungkook's emotional response. Tears that can't be stopped, according to sources close to BTS, after learning that he had been the subject of internal evaluations for years without being given any direct information. Jungkook reportedly experienced severe emotional distress. One of the staffers said Jungkook appeared shaken after reading the internal report for the first time and had shut himself in for several hours. He was not angry, but devastated. "It's more than just a management strategy. It's about trust being breached," said a source who asked not to be identified. And one short video spread on social media. Jungkook is seen holding a file and crying while leaning his head on a table. Although the video has not been officially verified, many fans are convinced that it is a real moment of Jungkook's emotional reaction after hearing Jin's statement. Rupture of internal trust and moral crisis within the group. Jin's move caused a domino effect within BTS. Some members reportedly began to question how decisions had been made. A South Korean entertainment industry insider revealed that what Jin did was a very bold and high-risk act, as it could trigger tension between the artist and management, even fellow members. But according to the same report, the other BTS members were not hostile towards Jin for his actions. Instead, they feel that Jin's candor paves the way for greater transparency within the group, a value that has always been a slogan with no real implementation. The public reacts. Digital campaigns, virtual hashtags, and open petitions despite not using social media directly. BTS, ARMY. Fans were quick to respond to this news with a digital gesture. Hashtags demanding clarification from HYBE topped the rankings in several countries. In fact, an international petition has emerged demanding full transparency over the management of artists under the auspices of the agency. In addition, many fans expressed their frustration over the fact that Jungkook, known as the most hardworking and dedicated member, had to face the harsh reality that had been hidden from him. HYBE issued a statement that does not answer the crux of the matter in response to this furor. HYBE finally issued a written statement that many considered too normative and did not touch the substance. In a statement, the company said that all BTS members are always involved in major decision-making and are supported by a professional management structure that is consultative in nature. But not a single sentence refutes or confirms the contents of the leaked report. There is no explanation as to why Jungkook did not know the contents of the document. In fact, the statement actually raises new suspicions. Is HYBE hiding something bigger? Why is Jin talking now? The most important question now arises. Why did the genie speak only now and not when the document first circulated in internal circles? According to an exclusive report from an investigative journalist in Seoul, Jin had long known of the document's existence but held back for the sake of the group's stability. But after completing his military service and seeing Jungkook's mental state start to look depressed, Jin feels he has no other choice. "I want Jungkook to know that he is not alone," Jin said at the end of his statement. Big question. Is this the beginning of BTS's fractured relationship with HYBE? Speculation grew after the incident. Many people began to question whether the relationship between BTS and HYBE was really healthy. Although BTS renewed its contract with HYBE a few years ago, there has been speculation that behind-the-scenes tensions have been around for a long time but were deliberately not shown to the public. There are fears that Jin's move could trigger long-term effects, including a possible renegotiation of the contract or even a decision to separate from management. Industry Observer Analysis. BTS is no longer a child. A Korean entertainment industry expert stated that what happened shows that BTS, especially Jungkook and Jin, have gone through a phase of dependence on management. This is no longer a rookie group waiting to be directed. They have become global institutions that have a voice, have dignity, and have the right to know how they are managed, he said. Another observer added that this incident could be a turning point in the governance of the Korean entertainment industry, which has been accused of being too authoritarian towards its artists, closing towards transparency or rupture of trust. This event is not just an internal issue between the artist and the agency. It is a mirror of the larger conflict between artistic values and corporate interests. Jin has taken a step that senior artists rarely take, speaking up for a group mate who feels betrayed. Jungkook, on the other hand, is facing a harsh reality that makes him feel alien to the world he has always considered home. Will this pave the way for internal reforms? Or does it just create a deeper chasm between the artists and the system that houses them? One thing is certain, silence is broken. And now, the whole world is waiting. Will HYBE answer? Or continue to silence the voices that have begun to dare to speak? In the midst of the unstoppable flow of digital information and viral dissemination, the most basic question that must be asked to the public today is not just what happened, but further, is what we believe this is really happening, or is it just a narrative formed for some benefit? Jin's statement that shook public opinion, Jungkook's emotional reaction that spread widely on social media, as well as accusations against HYBE labels, all of which have created an incredible wave of attention. However, behind the hustle and bustle, do we really understand the substance? The sources used in this preaching are very diverse. Some of the videos came from platforms such as TikTok and Twitter, while the investigative reports that followed were widely cited by independent YouTube channels, not all of which had high journalistic credibility. Even if the information forms a narrative that seems logical and emotional, should the public immediately believe it without verification? Let's question further. If it's true that HYBE has been covering up the facts of one of her biggest artists, why did the internal documents actually leak to non-mainstream media? Why is there no official investigation from major South Korean journalists like Yonhap or KBS? And more than that, did Jin really issue a statement as claimed by the social media users? Or have they been edited, cut, and shaped in such a way as to reinforce a narrative that is not necessarily accurate? This is where the public needs to position themselves in an adult and rational way. Are we victims of sensationalism? Or is it the truth that has long been hidden?